Hello, this is the Wall 200. I'm here with another video. Today's video is going to be hopping on the bandwagon of Battlefield 5. And if you don't know the controversy that's going on with this game, you could pretty much look it up on YouTube, and people are losing their shit mainly because there's a female in the game that's on the cover. It's not really about the female, but the representation that they're trying to give with the female, and a lot of people are losing their fucking shit over it. And I'm gonna give my 2 cents. Might as well hop on the bandwagon. I usually don't hop on stuff, but since I'm a gamer, I played Battlefield. I'd like to give my analysis on the whole situation. And it's not really about women in the game, you know. That's not what it's about. We're not saying women are bad, you know, in video games. That's not what it is, you know. They can be properly put in these games without breaking certain immersions, right? Sure, there were women in World War II that were on the front lines, but it was such a minuscule like percentage of people. It's just it boggles my mind why they do this, because it's the way she's presented that it's like near impossible for this actual person to exist. If it was actually like maybe portrayed after a real woman that was in the front lines, then I think that'd be a lot more forgivable. But they put a bunch of shit on this chick that doesn't necessarily need to be added on. Like she has a prosthetic arm, and like it's like they're hitting their demographics. They had a black guy with a samurai sword, a woman with a disability. I mean, it feels like they're just including this shit in. They hit the demographics so they're not have such a backlash. Why ain't there women in there? Why ain't there blacks? Because it's not really historically accurate. Sure, some blacks were in World War II and fought, but it wasn't the freaking norm. It's like such a vast minority of a percentage that it's going to be almost impossible to represent these people accurately. I mean, I just don't get it. Why would you put these in there? And if you do, at least make a fucking conscious effort to make it believable. The whole trailer was just really hated. It's like 50-50 right now, pretty much. The dislikes, and I can understand why it had a huge like Michael Bay feel to it. I mean, there's like a bunch of explosions and just a bunch of shit going on. It felt like a COD, like a Call of Duty freaking trailer, and it felt like it wasn't like Battlefield. Sure, I get the complaints of like it breaks the immersion kind of thing, right? But there's a lot of shit that goes on within these games that really don't make a whole lot of sense. That also break immersion. So what's the point of with the woman? What's the difference between like throwing a grenade and hitting an airplane out of the sky and blowing it up, and a woman on the battlefield? There's not really much of a stretch of the imagination there. So what's the difference? I think it's how it's presented. Sure, you're probably not going to throw a grenade and blow up a plane midair. It's possible, but probably not going to be very likely. It's one of those mechanics that just works. It makes the game more playable and fun, right? I think the major complaint is like how she's put in here. Like she seems completely out of place. For one, it's just like why they put her in here. God knows the face paint and all the cricket bat at the end. Like, what are they trying to accomplish with this? And if it was like some alternate, war, alternate reality war, like it doesn't matter. Whatever they can name what the war is, it doesn't really matter. Um, then it'd be fine. It wasn't any kind of like historic, setting, or not really specified where they are at, within the timeline of a war, or not. specifically specify that it's World War II, World War One, etc., then it'd be a lot more believable than like, okay, it's just like, you know, an alternate reality of World War II. It's not really meant to be taken seriously and whatever. And I think gamers would really not give a shit about that. It's just, I think it feels forced. I think that's the major issue about the whole thing, you know. It just feels like they're putting in this shit. They hit all their, you know, the bells and whistles to appeal to a wider audience. There's nothing wrong with trying to expand your audience, but when it's kind of like shoved into your face, you're going to get a negative reaction. And there's been, you know, they try to damage control this like to hell and back. Like a lot of people calling people sexist and all sorts of shit, just accusations of like, well, we're just mad because there's a woman in the fucking. No, we're not mad because there's a woman in our games. You can represent women just fine in games if it makes sense. Look at freaking Tomb Raider, Lara Croft. No one is like, no, Lara Croft can't fucking hang on to the side of the fucking mountain like that with no problem. No one's saying that. It's like, it's well enough done where it's believable in the Lara Croft universe. You know, like the game itself, the mechanics within the game, are all believable. It's like, I don't ever heard of anyone complaining that she couldn't accomplish any of these feats, you know, like jumping and hanging on the side of the, you know, mountains and shit like that, and climbing and all this crazy shit that's in the game that probably a lot of men couldn't pull off. So I don't see the issue. It can be done. There's proof right there within that game itself that it can be done if it's done correctly. So like I hope they kind of learn something from this, because I highly doubt it's going to happen, because they're trying to shield these kind of audiences, and I kind of understand why they're doing it. They're trying to expand and hit like a niche audience, which they shouldn't really be doing. Like, the majority of gamers are male. Okay, I know they're trying to include these women and black people, and that's fine if it's not in a historic setting like this. You know, it just like, it doesn't make sense, and it's just, you're like, it's not believable. And they're clearly trying to, I think one of the interviews they had is like, yeah, we're trying to tell a story that could actually happen in World War II. And if you do it with these, you know, a female who has a prosthetic arm, or a black man who has a samurai, then you're really losing your audience there. And you're trying to, I guess, shield these other, you know, I guess vast majority percentage. It's such a small percentage of people that they're trying to appeal to. That's not where their money is at. So they're taking a huge hit. I don't know how well the game's going to be, you know, received once it comes out. It might just completely bomb at this point if they don't really kind of change their direction where they're going right now, because they're pretty much blaming all the gamers for hating on it for no fucking reason other than there's a woman, despite the vast amount of comments that I've seen that are completely logical and no, you know, trolling. There are obvious trolling in the comments, get back in the kitchen, whatever. But for the masses, I guess, I see positive criticism towards the game, saying how it doesn't make sense, how it's not really historically accurate, and it just breaks the immersion of the whole game, you know. But they don't want to, you know, include those into, you know, we're just mad, we're just nerds that are just pissed off because a female all dares to be on the cover of Battlefield. But that's not what it is, and I think they're really missing the point. So after this kind of like backlash that they're receiving right now, I really don't see the game doing that well unless they change a lot of things between now and when it comes out. It's going to take a definite hit if they're the likes and dislikes in any kind of racial kind of a thing. Sure, it'll probably make money and people will buy it regardless, but it's probably going to do way worse than any Battlefield that's came out before it. That's my prediction. Hopefully they change something and make it a little bit more believable so it's not so bad, and they kind of change it a little bit so it's not so fucking ridiculous. I doubt it's going to happen because it's probably developed quite, probably almost to the finished stage, if not already completed at this point in time. So I really hype it'd be really hard to change anything that's already in the game and take this particular these things out of it without completely overhauling the game. So I don't know how well the game is going to do, and if EA doesn't do anything and they just say fuck it and just ride it, I don't think the game is going to be very successful, unfortunately, and that's kind of sad to see Battlefield kind of go down in the flames of like that. You know, it's kind of like following the Call of Duty like line of bullshit, and that's really sad to see such a great franchise go into the shitters like that. That's pretty much all I have to say. I think that's the thing. Rate, comment, and subscribe.